Don't cry, little one. Shh. Your papa will be proud of how strong you are. The maid whispered softly, gently pouring warm water over the baby's shoulders as the child's laughter bubbled in the quiet kitchen. Her hands moved carefully, every motion protective, every touch filled with a tenderness that could melt stone. The baby splashed, giggling, tiny arms waving in excitement, unaware of the weight of the moment about to unfold. Her name was Miriam, a woman who had crossed oceans and deserts for the promise of work, for the hope of sending money back to her own children she hadn't seen in 3 years. She wore a black uniform and white apron, her hair neatly tied, her eyes tired yet warm. To the outside world she was invisible, a servant, a maid. But inside her heart lived a universe of stories, sacrifices, and unspoken dreams. And that day, as she bathed the little girl of the house in a makeshift tub on the kitchen counter, she hummed a lullaby her mother once sang to her. It was a song of resilience, a melody of hope. What she didn't know was that the father, the Arab millionaire, had returned home earlier than expected. No announcement, no call, no driver honking at the gates. Just silence and his own curiosity to see how his home lived in his absence. He stepped inside quietly, a leather folder in his hand, his polished shoes making little sound against the marble floor. But when he turned the corner, what he saw froze him in place. The maid, standing by the sink, her hands cradling his daughter with more care than he had ever seen. Her eyes fixed not on the task, but on the child's joy, as though the world had stopped, and all that mattered was keeping the baby safe, happy, and loved. He stood there for a moment, unseen, breath caught in his chest. Finally, his deep voice broke the silence. "Miriam, what are you doing?" The maid jumped, startled. The baby squealed, splashing the water with delight. Miriam quickly steadied the child, her voice trembling. "Sir, I was just bathing her. She was restless, and I thought—" The man's brows furrowed, his tone sharp. "In the kitchen sink? Without telling me? Do you know how dangerous this could be?" Miriam lowered her head, clutching the baby protectively. "I know, sir. Forgive me. But the nursery was cold, and she kept crying. The warm water soothed her. I stayed by her side every second." The millionaire stepped forward, his face tense with authority, but his eyes betrayed something softer, confusion. He looked at his daughter, her cheeks pink with laughter, tiny fists splashing water, as though this moment was the most magical in her little world. Then he looked at Miriam, at the sincerity etched into her features, at the trembling hands that still refused to let go of the child even when caught. "Give her to me," he said quietly. Miriam hesitated, her lips parting as though to explain again, to beg him not to misunderstand. But she obeyed. Carefully, almost reluctantly, she lifted the baby into her employer's arms. The little girl cooed, her small fingers instantly gripping his tie. The man held his daughter, his chest tightening. For a second, he wanted to scold again, to assert control, to remind the maid of her place. But instead, he froze. Because the child looked happier than he had ever seen her, her laughter ringing like bells in the silent kitchen. Miriam spoke softly, unable to stop herself. "She misses you, sir, every day. I tell her stories of you so she remembers your voice. I sing to her at night when she cries. Forgive me if I overstep, but she feels like my own." Her voice cracked, her hands wringing nervously in her apron. The man looked at her, his eyes narrowing, not in anger, but in bewilderment. "Why?" he asked simply. Miriam blinked, confused. "Why, what, sir? Why would you care? She is not yours. She is my daughter. You're paid to do your job, not this." He gestured at the scene, his tone hard but his eyes unsettled. Miriam's throat tightened. She lowered her gaze. "Because love doesn't know salary, sir. Because I left 2 children behind. children who sleep hungry sometimes, children I haven't touched in 3 years. When I hold her, when I soothe her cries, I feel like maybe I'm still a mother even from far away. Her voice broke. Silence fell heavy in the room. The man shifted, his grip tightening on his daughter. He wanted to respond sharply, to remind her of boundaries. Yet, his heart wavered. Because in her trembling words, he heard truth. A truth he had buried under wealth, deals, and an empire that consumed his life. His daughter gurgled happily in his arms, reaching toward Miriam, her little hand opening and closing as if calling her back. The maid smiled weakly, stepping back, unsure whether she had just sealed her fate in this house. The millionaire's chest rose and fell. He was not a man used to being challenged, especially not by those he employed. Yet, in that moment, something stirred inside him, something he hadn't felt in years. A question, sharp and unrelenting. Who truly loves his child more? The one who provides everything money can buy, or the one who pours her heart into every ordinary moment? And with that, the story had only just begun. The air in the kitchen seemed frozen, the faint dripping from the faucet the only sound filling the silence. The millionaire held his daughter, but his eyes remained fixed on Miriam. She stood stiff, her hands trembling as though awaiting judgment, her heart pounding so loud she was sure he could hear it. "Sir, I didn't mean to upset you," Miriam whispered finally. "I only wanted her to feel safe." The man's jaw tightened. "Safe? Do you know what safety means in this house, Miriam? It means rules, it means boundaries. You don't improvise. You don't decide what is best for her. That's my role. Her father's." Miriam nodded quickly, bowing her head. "Yes, sir, I understand." But her voice carried something else, an ache, a wound reopened by his words. She folded her hands tightly, resisting the sting in her eyes. His daughter tugged gently at his tie again, babbling, drooling on his expensive suit. For a moment, his sternness faltered. He looked down at her, and his gaze softened despite himself. He kissed her forehead absent-mindedly, still trying to reconcile what he had just witnessed. He finally broke the silence. "Why didn't you put her in her proper tub upstairs? Why the kitchen sink of all places?" Miriam hesitated, her voice fragile. "Because, sir, the nursery feels lonely. It's cold even when the heat is on. Down here she can hear the birds outside the window. She can smell the bread baking in the oven. She laughs more when she feels part of the house, not locked away in a room. I thought—" She stopped, her courage faltering. "You thought what?" he pressed, his tone half curious, half demanding. "I thought maybe she deserved more than silence." "More than 4 walls," Miriam said softly, her voice breaking at the edges. The man inhaled sharply, his eyes narrowing. For years, his life had been a series of boardrooms, signatures, meetings, numbers, a world of cold precision. And yet here was this woman, standing before him, speaking about his daughter as though she saw something he had missed entirely. "You speak as if you know her better than I do," he muttered, almost to himself. Miriam's lips quivered. She swallowed. "I spend hours with her, sir. I know the sound she makes when she's tired, the way her thumb curls when she's about to fall asleep, the cry she makes when she wants comfort, not food. But that doesn't mean I know her better than you. It only means I see her. Every day." The millionaire said nothing. His chest felt heavy, an emotion he hadn't expected creeping into him. He wanted to dismiss it, to shut it down, but the truth in her words hit too close. Suddenly, his daughter reached again, this time toward Miriam. Her little hand stretched, her eyes bright, her body leaning away from her father's chest toward the woman who had soothed her all these days. The millionaire froze, his throat tight. For a flicker of a moment, he felt something strange. Jealousy. Miriam instinctively raised her hand, offering a small smile to the child, but quickly lowered it, stepping back as if she had committed a sin. "I'm sorry," she said hurriedly. She's just used to me. I'll go prepare her room." But before she could turn, the man's voice stopped her. "Miriam," she halted, her back straight, her hands clasped tightly in front of her. "Sit," he said quietly. Her eyes widened in shock. "Sir?" I said. "Sit." His tone wasn't angry, but firm. He gestured to the chair at the small kitchen table. Slowly, cautiously, Miriam sat. She looked down, unsure whether to speak or stay silent. The millionaire placed his daughter back in the basin for a moment, holding her steady as she splashed with innocent delight. He removed his suit jacket, set it neatly on the counter, and rolled up his sleeves. Miriam's breath caught. She had never seen him like this, not stripped of his usual polished armor of control. He dipped his hands into the warm water, guiding his daughter gently, almost awkwardly, as though he was relearning what it meant to touch his own child. The baby squealed with joy, kicking happily. "Is this how you do it?" he asked suddenly, glancing at Miriam. Her eyes widened again. "Sir?" "Bathing her like this, is this how you do it every day?" Miriam hesitated. "Yes, sir, but I always make sure the water is warm, not hot, and I never leave her side, not even for a second." The man nodded slowly, his movements stiff but careful. He cradled his daughter with surprising gentleness. His heart thudded against his ribs, not because he feared dropping her, but because he realized how unfamiliar this all felt. "She laughs more with you," he muttered. Miriam's throat tightened. She looked down, her fingers gripping her apron. "Children laugh where they feel love, sir." Her words lingered in the air, heavy and undeniable. The millionaire froze, staring at his daughter's wide grin, her eyes bright with happiness. A pang of guilt shot through him, sharp and unrelenting. How many moments like this had he missed while chasing contracts, deals, and empires? And for the first time in years, he questioned himself, not as a businessman, not as a provider, but as a father. Miriam, sensing the shift in his silence, rose slowly. "I'll leave you too. She needs you more than me." But as she moved to step away, his voice stopped her again. This time it was softer, almost pleading. "No, stay." Miriam froze mid-step, turning back, her eyes wide. The millionaire looked at her, his face unreadable. "Show me how to do it right." Her lips parted, but no words came. Instead, she stepped closer, her hands trembling as she guided his. She showed him how to cup the water gently, how to support the baby's neck, how to read her little signals. Their hands brushed briefly, and he felt the warmth of her skin, the quiet strength in her touch. The room filled not with words, but with the sound of a child's laughter, echoing against the tiled walls. For the first time, father and maid stood side by side, united not by status or salary, but by the fragile joy of a little girl. And though neither admitted it out loud, something had changed forever. The baby's laughter filled the kitchen like sunlight spilling through a window, softening even the coldest corners of the millionaire's heart. For a long while, he said nothing, just moved his hands the way Miriam guided him, letting the warmth of the water and the innocence of his daughter dissolve the silence. Miriam stood close, hesitant, her hands trembling whenever they brushed his. She was afraid of saying too much, of crossing another line. But she could not ignore what she saw. The way his shoulders slowly relaxed, the way his eyes softened when he looked at his daughter, the way he seemed human again. At last, he spoke. "I don't remember the last time I did this." His voice was low, almost ashamed. Miriam tilted her head. "Did what, sir?" "Held her like this. Bathed her. Laughed with her." He paused, his throat tight. "I thought providing money, a home, a future. That was enough. But maybe I was wrong. Miriam's chest ached at the honesty in his tone. She took a breath, her voice soft but steady. A roof and food are blessings, sir, but children, they don't measure love in money. They measure it in time, in hands that hold them, in voices that comfort them when they cry. The man swallowed hard. His eyes fell to his daughter, her little face radiant with joy. He whispered, more to himself than anyone, "And I wasn't here." Miriam looked down, her own memories rushing back. 2 children of her own, oceans away, who also measured her love in absences. She fought the lump in her throat, forcing a small smile. "You are here now, sir. That is what she will remember." For a moment their eyes met. 2 lives, worlds apart, yet both bound by sacrifice, by longing, by the fragile thread of love for children who deserved the world. The baby squealed suddenly, splashing water onto her father's shirt. He laughed, truly laughed, for the first time in years. The sound startled him, almost foreign, but it warmed the room in a way money never could. Miriam gasped softly, covering her mouth. "She made you laugh." He looked at her, a rare smile tugging at his lips. "No, you did." The words hung heavy in the air. Not flirtation, not impropriety, just truth. Her presence, her care, had pulled something alive in him he thought was long dead. He lifted his daughter from the basin, wrapping her in a soft towel. Miriam instinctively reached to help, drying the baby's tiny hands, whispering, "Shh, little princess, your papa has you now." The millionaire watched her closely. Her touch, her voice, her unspoken love. It humbled him. In all his wealth, in all his power, he had overlooked something priceless. And then, quietly, almost reluctantly, he spoke words he never thought he'd say. "Miriam, thank you." She froze. Her eyes widened, unsure she had heard correctly. "Sir?" He nodded, his tone firm but filled with sincerity. "Thank you for being here, for loving her when I was not, for giving her what money never could." Her throat tightened. Tears pricked her eyes, but she blinked them away, lowering her head. It's my duty, sir." "No," he said softly. "It's more than duty, and I see that now." Silence lingered between them, but it was no longer heavy. It was alive, carrying something fragile, something unspoken. Finally, Miriam whispered, "I only hope. One day my children will be held by someone kind the way I held her." The millionaire's chest clenched. For the first time he understood the depth of her sacrifice. He wasn't just employing a maid, he was borrowing a mother's love. He placed a hand on her shoulder, firm but respectful. "Then let us make a promise. As you cared for mine, I will not let yours be forgotten. From now on, you are not just a servant in this house, Miriam. You are family." Her breath caught. The words hit her harder than she could bear. Family. Something she thought she had lost in the distance of miles and years. Tears spilled freely now, and she pressed her hand to her mouth, shaking her head in disbelief. "Sir, I don't know what to say." "Say nothing," he replied gently. "Just know that kindness does not go unseen, not anymore." The baby, wrapped snugly in the towel, reached out her little hand again, this time grabbing Miriam's finger. Both adults looked at her, and in that moment, no walls, no titles, no hierarchies remained. Just 3 souls bound by love. The millionaire smiled faintly, whispering, "She chose you, Miriam, and maybe that's what opened my eyes." Miriam, through her tears, whispered back, "Children see truth, sir, even when we do not." And there, in the quiet kitchen of a mansion that had once been filled with silence, love found its voice again. Sometimes, it takes the simplest act to awaken the deepest truths. A maid bathing a child, a father seeing what he had missed, a reminder that love is not measured in wealth, but in presence. Think of your own life. Maybe it's your mother waiting at the table long after everyone else has eaten. Maybe it's the friend who checks in even when you forget to reply. Maybe it's the teacher who believed in you when you doubted yourself. These are the Mariams of our world, the unseen hands that carry us when we cannot carry ourselves. So the next time someone shows you love in the quietest way, don't overlook it. Because sometimes the smallest kindness changes everything. And as the millionaire realized that night, true wealth is not in what we own, but in the love we give and the love we receive. In the end, the richest man in the room was not the one with money in his hands, but the one with love in his heart. If this story touched you, don't forget to subscribe to Black Saga. Drop a comment below about the people in your life who showed you unexpected kindness, and share this video with someone who needs to be reminded of the power of love and presence.